Welcome to our last Friday video for the course. So I want to start with a few logistics and then talk about just a few takeaways from the class. But like most of our Friday videos, we're going to keep it pretty short. So for logistics for the course, I want you guys to remember you have an option of either writing a final paper, which is what was described in the syllabus, which is what I see it as what you signed up for in the beginning. That is still an option for you. There is a prompt in the Blackboard section for final paper. There are actually 3 prompts. Each one I'm asking for no more than a page. So it ends up being a 3-page paper. That can be single-spaced or double-spaced. I'm wanting you to be fairly brief, but don't just give me one sentence. I want you to describe your answer a little bit to get full points. So that's the final paper if you choose to do it. It's due Friday at 1 p.m. So that's when one of the sections of this class, I teach 2 sections, one of them has a final exam scheduled time of Friday morning. I think it would actually be finishing at 12:30 or something along those lines. Send it to me lunchtime Friday, and you're all set. So that's true for both sections, whether or not your scheduled time is Monday or Friday. You can send me the paper anytime this next week as long as it's in by lunchtime on Friday. So that's the paper. If you have questions about the prompts, let me know. I will try to get back to you as quickly as I can. I would encourage you not to put it off until after you're done with everything else, especially if you're busy with other exams and stuff until late next week, in which case you'll find yourself scrambling at the end and you'll be pretty burned out already. So avoid that by putting a little bit into it maybe this weekend or early next week. Or finish it early if you have a lot of stuff scheduled for the end of next week. The other option that I'm providing is to take a final exam instead of the final paper. So the final exam is, it's going to be 40 to 50 multiple choice questions hosted on Blackboard. So it'll look quite a bit like our second midterm, logistics-wise. It will focus on material from the last part of the class. So after the second midterm, that's the material that the final exam is going to focus on. But it will reach back a little bit. So there will be approximately 10 questions, maybe a little bit more than that, from the previous parts of the course. Those questions will be very closely related to questions that were on the first and second midterms. So if I were you, if you choose to take the final exam instead of writing the final paper, I would study for it by looking at the first midterm exam, the second midterm exam. That's the only thing I would do for studying from the first 2/3 of this course. Focus on the last third of the course after the second midterm, because that's what most of the questions will be asking about. And to study, well, I'll tell you how I come up with the questions. I go through our course slides and look at information that is explicitly on those course slides and draw questions that directly relate to that. So what I would do to study is go through the posted lecture slides for the course, starting with after the second midterm, and when you reach some concept where the slide doesn't explain it, doesn't make sense to you, I would go and watch the recorded lecture for that day or even a portion of that day for the part of the lecture slides that don't quite click. By doing that, you'll cover all of the material that will be on the exam, and by going back to recorded lectures, hopefully you'll understand it and it'll sink in a little bit. So that's how I would study if you choose to take this final exam instead of writing a final paper. Look through the previous exams and then go through lecture slides for the last 1/3 of the course, watching recorded lectures as needed. again, let me know if there are questions about things. The other logistical, so as I mentioned, one section of this course is scheduled to have a final exam on Monday. The other section is scheduled to have a final exam on Friday. And so what that means is I'm going to have the final exam, actually, I want it to be open during your scheduled exam times, because they schedule them that way for a reason, so that you're not double booked. And so it is going to be open from Monday through Friday next week. And so I believe it's going to be 1 o'clock on Monday, it'll open, and 1 o'clock on Friday, it'll close. So between those time frames, 1 p.m. Monday, 1 p.m. Friday, if you take the final exam, then you should do it. So a few takeaways from the course. I hope that you now think of economics as a set of tools to look at human behavior. Economics isn't just about money. Economics, we've spent a lot of time thinking about what decisions firms will make and what their cost curves look like, what kind of market structure are they selling into. Those are probably pretty in line with what you thought of economics before coming into the course, if you didn't have a lot of exposure to it. Those are classic economic questions. Those are tools that can be really helpful. If you're running a business, economics can help you figure out how much you should be making and selling, what quantity you should aim for. It can also help you think about what price to set. If you have any sort of price setting power in a meaningful way, the tools of economics can help you think about what that price should be. And so these are very practical, important contributions that economics can make. But economics is about way more than just dollar signs for firms. Economics is about studying human behavior, and that means there's all kinds of stuff that is within the scope of meaningful analysis with economic tools. And so I do research on endangered species and how we balance protecting endangered species against important sort of economic activity, like getting timber to build houses or growing food through agriculture. These are important trade-offs to make, and the tools of economics can help us think about how to effectively protect endangered species. So probably not something you came into this course thinking about as an economic question, but something that our tools can really help with. So another thing that economics can help us think about things during a pandemic, about creating incentives for firms to develop vaccines or treatments. Also think about how to encourage people to take a vaccine if a safe and effective one is developed. And think about these spillovers of actions. We've talked recently about externalities this week. And so in a public health setting or an environmental setting, there are so many externalities where the decisions that I make don't only affect me, they don't only affect the person on the other side of the transaction if I'm buying or selling something. A lot of times there's spillovers to third parties that are incredibly important if we want to think about how to do things in an effective way, even setting aside some of the equity and moral questions, although those are really important too, and too often in economics we focus so much on efficiency that many forget that the equity and moral aspects are incredibly important. We're looking at human behavior. There's no way you can fully understand what people are thinking about if you're not factoring those things in. It's a little bit harder for us to quantify a lot of the things tied to that. I'm stepping into a new course called Moral Issues of Capitalism. So actually this winter term I'll be teaching it for the first time. But so there we're going to take head on a lot of these issues with grappling with the non-efficiency sort of aspects of what drives people's decisions and behavior. But so I hope you find that the tools that we have talked about to be interesting. I know a principles class is not always interesting all the time for everybody, I don't pretend otherwise, but hopefully, at least for some of you, you found what we talked about kind of cool and kind of interesting. And if so, then seriously consider checking out what other econ classes are around. I mentioned I teach environmental economics. I'm teaching a moral issues of capitalism class. It's going to be really interesting. I teach a law and economics class because that's my background is a joint degree in both law and economics. And so that's a really fun class for me to teach as well. And that's just me. There are a lot of other really neat labor economics classes, health economics, all sorts of stuff. And then not to mention macro, the other principles class that we have, the other big branch of economics looking at economy-wide sort of phenomena, which is really important to understanding the modern world. So thank you guys for all you've put into things this semester. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your flexibility and support, especially this last week. I know it's been rough semester in a lot of ways for a lot of people, so that has not gone unnoticed. I appreciate it. Everyone stay safe. Finish the semester strong. I wish you the very best. Keep me up to date with what you're up to, and if I can help with things on whatever path you're on, let me know. Bye.